Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this video, I will be doing a project review and provide recommendations as to how to improve it. Okay, so this is the model that I received. It is a model of a McLaren Artura. I think it looks, overall, I think it's pretty good. However, there were a few spots that could use some improvement, so I'll just be going through them one by one. Now, starting with the upper, there were a couple of CV structure problems. So if you see this over here, you'll see that this one actually is 4 degrees. I think it should actually be 5 degrees so that you can get curvature on both sides. Actually, let me just do a quick check over here. So I'm going to say show max label, show comb. Now, it is possible to achieve curvature on both sides, which looks like this model actually was able to do. But really depends. It is not, I guess in this case, it's not super critical, but it's probably better to do 5 degrees. Now, if you see the CV structure over here too, this is a little, well, it is recommended that you all, first of all, build across the center line because sometimes they can give you a little bit of weird curvature. So actually, let me just do a quick check. So if I were to, actually, let me grab these two surfaces, do a cross-section editor. I'm just going to do this one. And let's turn the curve comb on. And let me curvature samples. No, I don't need a curvature scale. So if you see this, you'll see that even though this is supposed to be curvature, well, first of all, it's, oh, okay. So right now it's not curvature, which should require, it should be fixed. And also, if you see this over here, it is curvature, but if you look at the curvature cone, it's actually broken over here. So even though it's G2, it's probably not G3, so that should actually be fixed. So in this case, what you have to do is, it's always recommended if you're building a surface like this, build across the center. So instead of building it like this in two pieces, it should be one piece, and you can just trim it in the middle. I actually do have a lot of videos on this one, building across the upper, so I'm not going to go into the details, but that is something that should be done. And also the CV structure like this should also be fixed a little bit. So what I would do is, well, I'm just going to go ahead and use a square. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that gives you a nice CV structure, and that should be good. Now, of course, because this is only built to half, I would recommend that you do implied tangent or even implied curvature so that it's actually curvature across the center, even though it is recommended that you just build across the center. But, well, for a quick fix, you can do something like this. Of course, you do have to be mindful of all the alignment. So, I mean, this has to be curvature, and it has to align to whatever surface is in the back. Well, it looks like this one is just positional, so I guess that's okay, but that's something you should do. Same thing over here, CV structure fixes, because right now, and generally you probably don't want a CV structure like this, so you probably want to just do a little bit of slide over here. So I would just grab these, transform, slide, and just push it over here. Well, probably not that. Actually, you know what? Let me do a proportional slide. So I would just push it this way over here like this, so that everything's somewhat gradual, so that it's got a nice clean CV structure. Actually, you know what? That looks, yeah. But you basically want to line them up nicely so that it's somewhat more even. Something like this might not be recommended. So actually, you know what? Let me just redo this. So I will just untrim this one. And of course, just rebuilding with a square is, gives you a pretty decent result. So I'll do that too. Make sure in this case, one would be implied tangent. And that already gives you a pretty decent structure. However, you see that the acceleration from the CV structure from the inboard side and the outboard side is a little bit different. In that case, what I like to do is just to do a rebuild over here. And of course, now it was originally 4 degrees. Actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to keep it at 3, because if I do 4, you see that the CV structure is doing something a little bit funky. It's going in and out. So I will do something like this, even if there is a little deviation, because, well, keeping the CV structure clean is the number one thing that everyone should do. And as you can see, it's actually doing a zigzag over here. So if you see the CV structure over here, it's going in and out, that is not good. So you always want to clean up. So if that's the case, let's do this. I'm just going to do a fit curve over here. So let me just do a fit curve like this, degree 2. If there's a deviation, that's fine. I'm just going to rebuild it using square, but instead of using the edge, surface edge, I'm just going to pick on the fit curve over here like this. And let's see, implied tangent, position fail, that's okay, because I'm just trying to clean it up and that looks much better. So what I would do is I would rebuild this surface and basically align everything else to it. So the A pillar, the rail, the C pillar, everything would be realigned, and that's going to give it a little bit better result. Of course, you do have to align all of these, but I would say that's a very recommended thing to do. Okay. Well, that's that, and let's go to the side glass. If you see this one over here, you see that there's a little gap and it's a little bit uneven. And if you look at the CV structure, basically it's going in and out. It's actually, if you're actually building a production car, this isn't how it should be built. Everything should be a barrel. Now, when I usually build it just for demo purposes, I don't use a barrel because barrels are usually engineer provided. So I just do a degree 2 curve. So let me just quickly show. The reason why this needs to happen is because side glasses actually have to go down, and it's only going to go down if it's a barrel. So let me just demonstrate to you. If it's a, actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to use a key point curve. So I'm just going to the arc over here like this. Now, a glass is only going to go down. Actually, let me just copy and paste this one. And let me just retract it back. And I'm just going to grab this one over here. I'm just going to rotate it. You see, imagine that this is the glass going down the path. Now, if there's a belt line over here, let's say somewhere over here, like this. Now, however, if it's not like this, and let's say it's got a, well, actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to do a fit curve over here, and I'm just going to make it degree 2, and let's just give it a little bit of acceleration, like this, and you see how it's like that. And let's say this is being rotated like this, and you see that the path is going to vary. Oh, let's go to back to the front view, depending on the situation. And you see, if you just take a look at this part over here, it's going in and out. It does a real car that is going to break the glass or not going to go down at all. So in this case, what you have to do is, well, at least replicate, or somewhat similarly replicate it. This is not a proper way to do a glass, but at least it's closer. So what you have to do is, well, basically, I'm just going to snap a curve over here like this. And let's just make that a degree 2 for simplicity. I'm going to grab this CV over here. Oh, I don't know why the camera's on, so let's hide that. I'm just going to somewhat similarly mimic it. Now, it would be really nice if I can, if I actually do a glass, but this one is fine too. So I'm just going to make it a degree 2, like this. And you got to make sure that it is somewhat lined up right here. Of course, you can use an arc tool that is going to give you a more accurate, like an actual radius, and you can just pick any points over here, but it looks like that's not working. So you just want to drag across here, and I'm just going to drag it like this, and that's actually going to give an arc. And the radius should be somewhat consistent. So if I were to just do a curvature over here, and let's use min-max radius, and you see that it's 1352.988, and it's same over here, which is a perfect barrel. Now, the only problem is with this one, it's kind of hard to adjust. So I just use a degree 2 curve for modeling purposes, but if you're actually working on the production program, they are going to give you, the engineers are going to provide you with an actual barrel. But for my purposes, I'm just going to make it a degree 2 like this so that it's a little bit easier to manipulate. So I'm just going to drag it like this over here. And I'm just going to make sure that it is the CV in the middle is equidistant from here to here and here to here. And that's going to give you a decent result. Okay, and you just want to do a rail over here like this. And well, it's a little bit off, but there are ways to make it close. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project all the curves over here like this, and let's see how close it is. So I'm just projecting from Y, and you see the little bit of distance over here. So what you want to do is just use the stretch tool over here like this, just pull it in and out so that it gets close. And even there, right there, I think that's a lot closer than before. Of course, it looks like it's a little bit off over here, and looks like there's a little bit too much volume here. So I'm just going to grab this CV and just push it in like this. And I'm just going to push this out over here because the top one is a little bit off. And basically you have to do this and get it as close as possible. Now it's probably going to be almost impossible to get it perfect, but right now, as you can see over here, it's pretty darn close. So that's probably what you want to do. And yeah, so I'm just going to delete this one like this, and I'm going to just trim this one over here and just, yeah. And as a result, the highlight's going to be a lot cleaner if you compare to before. And that's going to give you an actual glass that's going to roll down the window. Now this piece, on the other hand, that doesn't need to roll down. So usually that does have a little bit different highlight or different flow. That's okay, but CV structure like this is probably not good. So you also want to clean that up. All right, another thing is, if you actually take a closer look at cars, the A pillar over here, there is going to be a little bit of offset between the rail and also the window. Actually, let me just bring up an image. So if you look at this over here, you will see that there's a little bit of trim going around, and that's basically, well, and you'll see that the glass is actually a little bit offset from the plane. So what you want to do is you either want to offset the glass or you want to build everything calculating for that. So in this case, since everything is already there, I'm just going to offset the glass a few mils. I don't know, let's say 3 mils like this. And you just want to keep it like that. So delete that. And it should be a little offset so that there's a little step between the rail and the glass. And as far as this inconsistency goes, you have to either do one of the two things. You either have to, well, get rid of the little bit of crown that's there. So what I can do is just do an UV over here and just push it in like this. Or you can build a rail based on the new curve that's there. Now, if I was just doing this from the start, from scratch, I would build the glass to the orthographic drawing or whatever reference that you were using, and I'll rebuild all of these according to this line over here. So, but as you can see over here, there's a little step that's a little bit more consistent. So I think that should be a little bit better. All right, so moving on to the next issue. Well, let's take a look at the body side. So if you see this body side, there are, to be honest, I think way too many patches. So there is no reason why this body side over here should be made into 2 pieces. I think they can be just one, because right now it should be, I mean, yeah, I don't see why it should be 2. Now, if there was a separation over here, yes, there should be a one piece over here like this and another piece over here like this and connected with a fillet. But unless that is the case, this there is no reason why this 2 pieces should be a separate one. And the same thing over here, because I was taking a look at the image too, and if you see this one, actually, let me just go through the images. If you see this one, there's one nice piece over here, and it just sort of gradually translates into this one. Now, I think the one who did this separated this into, well, basically 3 different pieces. basically a primer here, fillet here, and fillet here. Well, this isn't exactly a fillet, it's just a, I guess, a blend piece that connects to the wheel flat. But I think the reason why he did that is due to this piece over here. It's just really nice, just easier to connect this one. But in this case, what I would do is I would just, instead of doing this, I would just make it into one piece. And I actually do have a body side. I did this for the same person. So let me just show you this. So this was the original. So as you can see, there's a lot of patches. So, and this is the final surface that I sort of did it for him. So in this case, what I did was, so there was one piece over here like this. Basically, this is the primary, and that is basically connecting to this one over here, like that. And there's another piece over here. Now, I'm not quite sure why I did this into two pieces, but if you can keep it to one, that would be great. But essentially, I think there are just way too many pieces over here. So I would try to reduce it as much as possible. So, yeah. Now, let's see. Same thing with this one. So if you look at the highlight over here. Oh, okay. So for this one, actually, let me go back to this one. I think I did separate patches because of I was essentially fitting to a scan, and I needed this in order to make a gradual transition. But if I was building this from scratch, I'll probably just make this, basically combine this piece and this piece, so that it's a little bit less pieces of surface to work with, because of that, you know, any addition of pieces, that is going to create a little bit of error. That's going to make it a little bit difficult. So I would recommend that try to reduce a number of pieces as much as possible. And same thing with this one. Well, if you look at the highlight, you see that it's going up and down. This is not good. And you see that there's a transition from a negative surface to a positive. That's why you get an X, like a cross over here. And if you even look at this highlight over here, it's all over the place. At least this demo, it's a little bit more consistent other than the flick over here. Well, that is due to the positive highlight over here. Well, I think this can use a little improvement. So, and actually, before I do that, if you look at the highlight over here, I do think that there is a transition from a negative to a positive over here. However, it should be somewhat controlled. So in this case, what I would do is I would simplify this a little bit. So let me just do a quick, actually that's, let me just copy and paste these over here like this. I'm just going to untrim, and let me just do a fit curve quickly over here. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this. I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to connect the dots like this and just make it a degree 2 over here. Like that. All right. And as far as the shape goes, I think they're supposed to be a theoretical over here, and just one slab over here and one slab over here, and connected with a fillet. So in this case, what I would do is maybe I'll just connect the curve over here and connect the curve over here, something like that. Of course, you probably want to give it a little negative over here like this, and something like that. I'm just going to connect the dots from here to here. And of course, you probably want to give it a little bit crown, depends on the direction. So I'll do the same thing over here, and I'll do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a rail over here. So it's going to be 1 and 1 like this. And if you want this to go in a little bit more inboard, you can do a little bit of rotation like this. But it looks like it's, as it goes towards this point, it looks like it's converging. So you just want to be mindful of that. And I'm going to do a rail on this side over here like this. And let me just get rid of the surface that's behind. And that's going to create a nice transition like this. Of course, depending on the situation, I think the highlight is supposed to flow more like this. So in that case, you probably either this has to go over here, or this has to pop out like this in order to create that highlight. So maybe I'll just do this one like this, and that's creating a pretty decent highlight or intersection between the two. And that's all you have to do. And what you do is do a surface fillet. So let me just do a quick demo. Let me just delete the guidelines first. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project this from Y like this. I'm just going to scale it. And let's go ahead and just trim. All right. So now you can just do a fillet. So it's going to be chord, it's going to be G2, and let's see. This one, because it's a full-size car, I'm pretty sure the fillet has to be pretty big. So maybe not 300, maybe 150 like this. I'm just going to, oh, that's pretty big. So let's go 100 over here. And I am not going to do auto. Let me just put everything to default. It's going to be edge line over here. And just for this demo, I'm just going to quickly patch this in. So I'm just going to align this one over here like this. G2. I'm just going to project it from the side like that. Okay, that looks good. And I'm just going to trim it. And oh, actually, oh no, that does end up, no, that doesn't. So in which case I will probably connect the curve from here because you do need the fourth edge. I thought it was just straight, but I realized that it's actually not because there was a little gap. So I can just do a square over here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And of course you need a little bit more degrees. So 2 would be curvature. Now 1 wouldn't be implied tangent, and 3 also would be curvature, and there wouldn't be a rebuild. Like this, and you just create a nice highlight with 2 pieces. And the highlight, as you can see, it's a lot more control to what was there before. So I would probably apply the same principle and have this continue over here, and I think that should provide a little bit better flow like that. All right, so everything else looks pretty good. I mean, there's a little bit of wiggle over here, but if you actually look at the car, there's a little bit of wiggle over here too. So I think that's fine. However, in this C-pillar area over here, I think it's supposed to a little bit soft. So if you look at this one, I think they're supposed to be a little bit more volume. And I think this is supposed to, instead of going like this, I think it's supposed to be just one transition from here to here. So that's more of a design fix. Well, there's a surface fix too. And I also would make this fillet a little bit larger because I think this one is a little bit too tight. So yeah. So overall, I think it's a pretty decent model. There are a couple of things that that definitely can be improved, but overall, it's not too bad. And this guy is definitely on his way to making a decent model, a decent portfolio piece. So yeah. All right, so that is it for this particular project review. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.